Welcome to Soul Rising. We're your hosts, Amy and Erin. We're two everyday mediums who are passionate about taking the woo-woo out of spirituality and bringing it down to earth. So put the kettle on, grab a chair, and join us.
Yeah, so welcome to episode 42 of Soul Rising. I'm your host, Amy, and my co-host,
Erin. Hello.
Erin. Yeah. So this is our 42nd episode. We wanted to do something fun and kind of something we haven't done before. We haven't ever gone live. We've done live readings, but we've recorded. It hasn't been live streamed to the general public. So we're excited to do this, hoping to iron out some kinks. Things happen, techie stuff. I am not a techie person, but happy to be here with you guys.
Yeah.
And I guess we should just get started right on questions. So if you guys have any questions for us, you can unmute yourself and ask. You can type it in the chat. It's completely up to you. We also have a couple written down from people that are not here today. So we can do that too. And we're aiming to be, an hour, a little bit less than an hour as well. So we've got Annette Lewis is popping in the chat. She can chat here, but I can only enter the live session as an audience member, so I'll chat from here. Yeah, you would have to come in as an audience member, but like I said, you can turn your camera off, so you do not have to appear on camera. You can simply share your voice when you unmute if you want to, Annette. But if not, you can just stay over there on YouTube. Yeah.
Whatever is more comfortable. And please also let me know if the sound issue is still going on when I chat as well. Let me know.
So what kind of questions are we allowed to ask you, just out of curiosity?
Do you want to answer that, Erin?
Yeah, for sure. So this isn't a personal readings type live chat, but we're happy to, hear your own personal experiences when it comes to spirit, maybe your own spirituality, what your journey has been like. And as well, if you have any questions about that side of things, spirit or the work that Amy and I do as well. Yeah.
I've got a few stories. I'm going to have to pick the best one then.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I think probably one that really comes to mind is when I went to Częstochowa in Poland. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Poland. But it's this very beautiful little town where they host the Czarna Madonna, the Black Madonna. Have you ever seen a picture of it? It's like a Black Madonna as opposed to the normal Virgin Mary. And she has it's almost like two little scars that just seem to be progressing and growing longer and longer over time. Even though I think someone said that scientifically they don't understand why it's happening, but it is just happening. Anyway, so I went there with my late uncle, and it was quite a beautiful experience. It's quite small inside. It didn't look very large from the outside, but when you went inside, there were so many people who were praying, obviously, because it's a beautiful church. People who were genuflecting and moving before the picture of Blessed Mother Mary and the Madonna on their knees. And on the right-hand side was just a wall covered with walking sticks and walking frames and excuse me, and rosaries. And these were people who'd offered their prayers and some who'd actually received cures and miraculous responses to their prayers. And all in all, it was a very, very beautiful experience. So later on that evening afterwards, my late uncle and I, together with some of his friends, had a beautiful meal. And I went to bed and I went to sleep. And I had the most exquisite dream. I dreamt that I walked up to the front doors of Częstochowa, to the church, but they were shaped differently. They were like an arc. There were heavy wooden doors, and I walked through. And as I walked through, it was a different setup on the inside. There were just pews upon pews upon pews upon pews, and every single pew was full. And I started walking up in the middle of the aisle, as you do, thinking, I need to find my little safe self, a little place where I can, park my little butt cheeks, and I can sort of stay in the evening. And enjoy whatever is going to happen. And the more that I walked down the middle of the aisle, and the closer that I started looking around, all of the people that were actually in the pews were all angels. They weren't people, they were all angels. And the further that I walked up the aisle, the center aisle, I could see an altar, but I could see people at the altar, but I couldn't see who they were. And as I kept on walking and walking, some of the angels turned around and just looked at me and smiled, and then I woke up.
Oh my gosh, that is such a beautiful story, and like sounds like it was very impactful as well for you.
Yeah. I mean, it stayed with me for years, but I mean, I've had so many various different types of spiritual experiences and dreams that it kind of blows your mind. But I think that was the most fitting one to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'll give you my bill later.
Yeah. I love when we have those dreams that are so impactful, or when you have a dream like that, and I bet it probably felt so real too, right? Like it didn't feel like a dream, and I think that that's how you know that it's spirit, it's meant for you. You're having some sort of visitation.
Exactly, visitation, definitely.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I get goosebumps as I hear that. That's so cool. Wow.
Thank you, by the way, Ada, for sharing that story with us. I appreciate you being here and staying up so late and supporting us in this way.
You're most welcome.
We have Annette in the YouTube chat. Are there stages to becoming more spiritually aware? I'm noticing a lot more instances of hearing more voices late at night, to intense emotional dreams, to seeing the same numbers everywhere. So What do you think, Erin? Do you think there's stages to awakening?
It's interesting you say that, because I feel like I would say I think it's different for everybody, right? And I think that awakening happens depending on you, and you know how you work, because I think spirit works with all of us very differently, because of course we're all amazing and unique and individual. Exactly. I felt like for me, my spiritual awakening was like a here you go, like almost explosion. So yeah, right. Sometimes I think too, depending on maybe I don't know if it has to do with anything of like, maybe we're unsure about certain things, and so maybe spirit gives us like these little hints here and there, and then it kind of grows and grows and grows the more kind of open and aware we are. Not that we weren't before, but I don't know, I think it's different for everybody. Is that what you feel, Amy, as well?
Yeah, I do. I think it's very individual. Erin and I just did a lengthy series all about the clairs. So those are like your psychic senses. If you guys haven't listened and you kind of want to hear some rambling, but we do really talk about each of the clairs. That might be something to investigate too, because as we kind of discovered, as we talked about it, we really experience our awakening and our connection to spirit through our clairs, I believe. And Erin and I have certain ones that are maybe stronger than others. We did an episode about clear tasting and clear smelling, and it turned out that Erin experiences the clear tasting more, and I experience clear smelling more. So we don't know why that is, but we have some theories, like maybe somebody that has a greater palette of different tastes and is more experimental with their what they're eating, what they're tasting. Maybe spirit would utilize that and go, okay, this person is going to get it. This person, I'm just letting somebody in as we're talking. This person is going to understand when I say this, that this is what it is. So I think there's something to that as well. I hope this is answering your question, Annette. But I feel like our clairs can kind of open all at once or one at a time. It sounds like perhaps your clairaudience is opening up and developing, because you're talking about hearing voices and things like that. So yeah, I think that things open up in levels, at stages. And I always share with people that spirit will never give us too much. Like, spirit does not want to scare us, really and truly. And so they're not going to just like, yeah, Erin and I kind of joke and say we're kind of like pushed through the door, right? But things do, if we really broke it down, it would probably come a little bit in stages, but there'd also probably be a level of comfortability or familiarity with what we personally experienced, whether it's like a past life thing or just a sensitivity, right, to things in our own lives. So yeah, to answer your question, I do believe that things can happen in stages. I always say the most important thing in your spiritual connection or in your intuitive development is intention. It's everything. So what is your intention? What do you want? Because I feel like if you come at this with an open heart and an open mind, spirit will be very happy to utilize that. But if we have some sort of like, I don't know, emotional, mental blocks around this, if we don't have trust in it, if we're fearful about something, if we have some maybe, I don't know, some trauma based on different things, sometimes it can come with religion, sometimes not. It just really depends on what you are comfortable with. The latest dream Annette had was being encouraged to let go and pass along messages from those who are passed to their loved ones. It was a first for me and very emotional. Yeah, Annette shared this with me in a DM because she's a friend of mine and kind of was like, what's this about, right? And I said, what it sounds like to me is that spirit is kind of encouraging you to testing the waters maybe a little bit, like seeing how you feel about this, what you want from this. I feel like if spirit is giving you a dream and all those other kind of things that are happening with you, all your clairs, I feel like what it's saying is that you are likely very naturally sensitive to energy in the first place because you're recognizing it. And our relationship with spirit is just that. It's a relationship, right? So it sounds to me like somebody is asking for you to have a relationship with the spirit world. And that dream in particular makes me feel as if you have a sensitivity to spirit and likely they would like to work with you. Now, I know that can be kind of scary. I feel like you're open to it, right? But there's not only are there stages to becoming more spiritually aware, there's stages to being trusting in your spirituality. Would you agree, Erin? Do you have anything else to share about that?
Yeah, well, and I was just going to say that I also feel like, I don't know how you feel, Amy, but I also think that, for me, if I think back on my own personal relationship with spirit, it's definitely grown since, I was in my early 20s. And I always just think that, that is, we're always growing and we're always learning. I feel like I'm continuously learning how spirit works with me. I feel like they're continuously throwing new things at me, right? It's like a whole new brand new game of charades when I work with them, oh, that means this. Okay. All right. I got you now, but I'm constantly learning how to sort of interpret some of those messages. And I think it's an ever evolving and growing process. But I think that is so beautiful that you're having those dreams. Yeah. Cause I feel like not a lot of people, I've only had just a handful of visitation from other people's loved ones coming through in dreams. So yeah.
Annette, I have a question for you. Was this just and Erin kind of made me think about this. Was this somebody that you know in spirit that was coming through to you asking you this? Or was this just kind of just the message in itself without being tied to somebody in spirit for you was, hey, I want you to share some messages in general? Or was it like from somebody specific? I'd be really curious. She says no, but I don't know which answer it was for. It sounds as if maybe it wasn't a specific person because that was the first question I asked. There's a little bit of a delay with receiving the question and answering too.
Yeah, classic lives.
She didn't know them. So, it just kind of came through as a general message.
Whoa.
Which is even kind of cooler in a way.
That is really cool.
It's just like the all-knowing is like, come on, Annette, be a medium.
Yeah, you're getting that's a pretty big push. I think she said earlier, I feel like they're hitting me over the head with a hammer. So that's definitely big.
It can be like that, right? It's like I always say, I felt like I was pushed through the door. Like I was just there like, sorry, we're not waiting around anymore. Like, see ya, you're right? Like down a long tunnel. But yeah, if you see, hindsight is a gift, right? Because when I look back at my whole life after my spiritual journey, which by the way, I'm still on, right? I'm still awakening every single day. It's a never ending lifetime journey. But if I look back at a few years ago, even I can see things in hindsight were kind of maybe always happening.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's just your awareness all of a sudden is like, hey, there's something going on here. Or you're putting the puzzles together, the puzzle pieces together. I want to share something personal. I hope it's okay, Annette, but it just kind of goes with my comment where I said, you know, the spirit world is like, hey, Annette, be a medium. I've done a reading for Annette before, and something came through from somebody in spirit that's very close to her. And he addressed, and I didn't know her, but he addressed me and her sister as the three sisters. And we were like, ooh, what's that about? What's that about? And now I'm like, maybe something's unfolding here, right? And I happen to be relocating somewhere where she is and the other sister too. So I think that's really cool. And we're kind of like, I can't wait for the mystery to unfold and see what happens here.
Wow.
Thanks for letting me share, Annette. We've got lots of questions coming through.
Yeah.
Let me see. So Joanne said it's good now. The sound is great. I'm going to go, or you can, Erin. I've been looking at the YouTube chat there. If we want to go back to the other chat.
Yeah, we had a question here.
We have something from Amy. I think might be the first one.
In the Riverside. Now I lost it. Oh. I think Amy said, lately something is going on. I remember you mentioning the goosebumps you get sometimes. I'm noticing that lately. Can you both share how you first started noticing? So
Good question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think Amy's asking about, because or Amy, you know what? You answer this one because you are the goosebump queen. And you...
I wonder what that's about then. Do I seem to get them more than you, Erin, would you say?
Well, I learned about that from you.
Oh.
I was like, oh, I got goosebumps. And I was like, oh, is that what that is? Yeah.
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 Interesting. Yeah. So for me, when did I notice that? I think if in hindsight, I look back at different times in my life, I'm sure it happened multiple times, you know. But when I first started noticing it was when I was like intentionally connecting to spirit. Like when I was like, okay, I want to connect to spirit. That's what I mean by that. Not just like they just come to me randomly. And when I say, first of all, I used to have a whole kind of practice of opening myself up, which Erin, I think we talked about that recently, where I don't really do that anymore. I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm ready to go. I go, and I hit join, and then we do the thing. Like I don't do the whole meditation. I don't do any of that stuff anymore. But I used to, and I used to have a specific kind of practice around it. And then I would always say, okay, spirit, when it's go time, make my scalp tingle. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't hit join Zoom until my scalp tingled. And so that was, I think they learned to work with me that way. Like, okay, Amy needs that. She wants that. I'm not lying. My scalp just tingled and my arms. So now when I'm doing a reading, if I say something that is like extra important to be said to the client, to the sitter, I will get goosebumps. More often than not, it's always on my left side. It starts from like about here and it goes down my forearm. I don't know why it's always on my left side. It just seems to be always on my left side. Something that I've heard those called before is psychic chills.
Yeah.
Like as an actual definition. I don't know if it's in the dictionary or not, but like if you Google psychic chills, you'll get stuff will come up. To me, it means something is resonating as deep truth. You're hearing something that is deeply truthful. To your soul. Your soul's like, yes, girl, like, yes. That's what that means to me. So it could be that you're listening to something on the radio, or you're watching TV, or your friend says something, or read something, and you're like, oh, where did that come from? It's you've just read something that is super truthful. So pay attention to what that is. So when I get that in a reading, it's like, okay, that I always say, okay, this is really important for you to know. That was really important. Pay attention to that. Or sometimes if I'm trying to interpret something and I'm struggling a little bit, like, I don't know what they're trying to tell me, but this is what I see. When I get it right, like after, I'll get it as to go, okay, you got it right. So that's how it started for me, was me asking spirit, I guess, that is my thing, which is maybe why, Erin, you didn't experience as much, because maybe you weren't like, hey, spirit, make my scalp tingle.
No, I used to ask for, because when I'd meditate, I would see like images of birds coming through, and often I would be like, oh, okay, I'm good now. That was like, whereas you have the goosebumps or the tingling on the head, I had that image in my mind's eye of like a bird going by. So that was usually my like little indicator of it's go time.
I think that's a good example too, because it shows how individualized this can be. Like spirit works with you and uses you.
Yeah.
Like it's like a telepathic communication. Therefore, the things that come through are going to make sense to you. You can, and it's a relationship, so you can ask for things.
Yeah. And I think the left side, isn't the left side of our brain the one that's more like, there's so much that's unknown, I think, about the brain, but isn't that the creative part, is the left side?
It's the right side, isn't
Is
it?
it the right side? Interesting.
Laura says the birds are here. Let's do this. Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm seeing crows. Let's do this. Does anybody watch Schitt's Creek? Remember when she was the crow lady?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
What you're talking about, yeah.
If you haven't watched Schitt's Creek, you need to get on it. What are you doing? What are you doing with your life? Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
So again, yeah, very individualized.
Very. And I think it's really important. And I think that like we're very passionate about it. Like it's so individual. Yeah. So, you can Google to your heart's content, but still the best authority is yourself.
Yeah. There's no like right way. There's no like book on, I mean, there is, but there's no book of like, this is how you be a medium, step. Everybody's so differently. And so you have to just sort of kind of figure out, and we've talked about this before, Amy, but figure out what you're drawn to, what resonates with you. Because certain things will resonate and others won't, and that's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do we have more questions? Do you have another question?
Yeah, we've got plenty. So after Amy in the Riverside chat, and then we'll go over to the YouTube chat. Melissa says, speaking of dreams, do you have any repeated dreams as a child that you've interpreted as spirit later in life when you became aware of your gifts? Erin, I'll let you take that one if you would like.
Wait, I got distracted. Can you
want me to repeat
it?
Yeah,
can you I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Speaking of dreams, did you have any repeated dreams as a child that you've interpreted as spirit later in life when you became aware of your gifts? So you would recognize it now as spirit, but you were experiencing it in childhood.
I'm not going to say dreams. I don't think I've had, I mean, I have had dreams as a kid, obviously, but I don't remember any dreams that were like, whoa, that was spirit. I don't really remember that. I just remembered the physical things that happened to me as a kid, which was like hearing voices, literally seeing an apparition. Hearing the voices were always like in the distant, like a radio that I couldn't quite turn the volume up, get that constant. I once had like a total completely out of body experience, which was wild. And I think as a kid, I thought maybe that I was dreaming, but that was definitely like, it felt so real to me. And what's interesting to me about that is I was a kid and my parents, I think my dad had a book on like lucid dreaming. Okay. And so I was doing this thing, and one of it was like, okay, if you put your arm up like this and then you slowly put it back and you count backwards, it was something weird like that, you're going to lucid dream tonight. So I was doing all of these like weird things. And then I had this moment, and I was not a lucid dream. It was totally out of body, where I felt like I was, all of a sudden I was aware that I felt like I was falling. And it's not that, oh, I'm falling and I'm awake kind of things that we experience, but it was like I'm falling down, but I can see, because my bed, when I was a kid/teenager, was like a pull-out drawer, one of those beds, and you pulled out and there was a drawer, so I could see the empty drawer that I was like going down in, and then I was floating down like the stairs, and I made it all the way to the door, and I freaked myself out, and I just jolted back up awake. And that was a very real dream, but that's probably an example, as I'm talking about, a dream that I would definitely interpret as an out of body experience. Yeah.
For me, I used to dream, I guess, like I don't know. I wouldn't say like when I was awake, I was afraid of this because I actually well, I shouldn't say that also because I actually was a little bit fearful of water. And so it took me until I was 12 to learn to swim. I believe that was a past life issue coming forward, but I wasn't like, but I still loved water. Like I was drawn to water. I grew up near the ocean. So it's not that I wanted to go in it, but I would be like very happy to be around it. But I would have dreams all the time. I kind of like a nightmare, I would call it back then, because it was upsetting to me, but it was like huge crashing waves, almost like a tsunami. And I didn't know why I was like dreaming about this, but I dream about it quite often. And then, certain like things that happened in life, like when in 2004 when the tsunami happened? I can't remember where that happened. You know where I mean? Somebody tell me. That's right. In Indonesia, that affected me deeply, right? That's that clairsentient empath kind of on steroids, right? Like I didn't know anybody that was affected, but I felt as if I had. It really bothered me. And then again, when we had that in Japan in 2011, bothered me so deeply. I had like high anxiety, borderline getting into a depressive state around this time. And so it's interesting. The reason I bring this up is because as I'm like growing my spiritual gifts and opening up, I've kind of been connecting a bit to the idea of starseeds and to the Pleiadians, Lemuria, all of these places. If you're familiar, Lemuria is kind of like Atlantis in the sense, it's just a lesser known Atlantis, but it is Hawaii, but it's said that it's sunk, and what's remaining of Hawaii is just the tips of the mountains that used to be Lemuria, big continent. And the Lemurians I connect to very deeply. I've read a lot of stuff about. I feel as if I have a connection to, maybe past life type thing. And, that's that sinking tsunami. We had to, a lot of people would have passed away in that, or would have had to escape and leave everything behind because their land was sinking by ocean. So to me, I've kind of connected that. I got my goosebumps. I've connected that now in my brain that, I think that's connected.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's why I was dreaming that.
I would be surprised. Yeah.
Right? Like, why am I afraid of tsunami? Like this deeply affected by this. Yeah. So maybe it's connected to that. So we want to go to the YouTube chat now?
Oh, yeah. Wait.
There's lots over here. We got something by Laura.
Laura.
Do you see it?
Would love to hear more about physical issues kicking in as you open up to spirituality. I've never had so many mysterious medical issues before this year.
Very cool question.
Interesting.
What do you think, Erin?
I have to sit with this one for a little bit. Well, I'm part of me. I guess my one of my questions would be: are these like issues? I don't know. Part of me wants to go to the gut, but like, are these issues like you're feeling a heaviness? Like, I'm wondering if that's just like the energy kind of really. You're feeling the energy in a very big scale, that it's like they're coming in, but they're coming in hot kind of a thing. I don't know. But that's interesting. I think that goes back to everybody's so different.
I think it's individual.
Very individual.
For sure. I know for me personally, like, and I've actually read in books about this too, that a lot of mediums will struggle with autoimmune issues, struggling with adrenal kind of stuff, struggling with thyroid. For me, I'm hypothyroid. I have an autoimmune disorder. These things have come about since I've started working with spirit. So I don't know if they're connected, if it's just one big coincidence, but
we could be twins, Amy.
You have the same things? Yeah.
I do, my lovely.
Yeah. So yeah, and just the other day, I get flare-ups with my autoimmune disorder, so I feel like I have the flu, which is the worst during the COVID pandemic, because I'm like, oh my God, is it COVID? But I just feel gross for a day or two, and then it goes away. So I know I'm in a flare-up. I don't know, to be honest, Laura. Like, I don't know if there's an actual medical answer for that, but I know that I resonate with that. you know, I always go back. We talk a lot about Tyler Henry at times because we love him. And on his newest Netflix series, he talked about his own health issues and, you know, kind of how, like, who knows what working with spirit and being a medium does on one's body. We don't know. I mean, we are like a vessel for spirit. I would think that they would never want to hurt us, though. I think it's more of like an energetic balance and like an integration of energy, perhaps. So as you're taking more in, maybe your physical body is having to integrate it and like try to balance that. So there might be a time of imbalance, maybe. But self-care is very important for anybody that is sensitive to energy. And if you're intentionally working with energy, it's even more important. And I don't just mean bubble baths. I mean
like actual take those mental health
self-care
days.
I've also heard from multiple mediums that every medium should be taking magnesium. I do take magnesium, so I don't really know why, but apparently we can be lacking in magnesium as well.
I've heard that too.
Have you? Yeah. Let's see. She says, weird autoimmune and various off-the-wall medical stuff appearing out of nowhere once I started opening up to this. Yes. And Annette says, I just went to the naturopath today who informed me I have an autoimmune disorder. Well, look at that. It's honestly very common. Like, again, I'm not a researcher or a medical professional, but like I know many, many, many mediums, and I've read and watched and listened other people, other mediums talking about this exact same thing.
Yeah. Or even just like health. I'm like thinking of mediums that I know who have health, like major health things, but I don't know if that's, I don't know.
It's interesting.
It's
right?
interesting.
Like, is it a spirit thing, or is it just something to do with like our bodies when we're extra sensitive to energy? Are we just extra sensitive to other stuff like this too?
I mean, because
it could be that too.
Well, I think you guys are like tuning forks, really, aren't you? You're like, because when you pick up on energy from people and from the spiritual realm, because essentially it's energy, and every different type of energy affects a person differently. So I would assume, not being a medium myself, but I would assume that if you're channeling perhaps somebody who's passed, who had maybe a different energy to somebody else, maybe that would affect your energy in a different way. Maybe that would affect your chakras in a different way. Maybe you need to rebalance them and give yourself a time out. So you're like tuning forks, really. You need to.
That's a great reminder too. I was speaking about I was speaking to somebody about that recently, and just like it was a reminder to me that perhaps I should be more diligent and careful with my opening and closing. Maybe I should be, intentionally closing better than I have been. I'm kind of bad habit, I guess. I'm just like, okay, I'm ready. Okay, see you, have a nice day at the end of a session, and then go about my life. Like it's kind of a reminder, I think, that maybe we should be a little bit more diligent about closing. But my kind of intuition makes me feel like perhaps there's just like a link between people that are naturally sensitive to energy and people that may be sensitive to these type of health issues. Like maybe there's some sort of link. And also I think it has a lot to do with, like, because I got goosebumps, as I said, integrating energy. So I think if we work on balancing and taking care of ourselves when we're not working with spirit, that means that we need to have boundaries with spirit, right? That's a big one.
Just like
we
people.
talk about it in almost every episode, right? We need boundaries. We need to close off.
Yeah. Because
we need to not like overdo it with readings. We need to not do, like, it would not be feasible for you or I to do 9 to 5 Monday to Friday readings, like every day, all day. It would be really hard on us. And I would think, and when I tried to push myself like that, I get sick.
I wonder what that is though. Could maybe, I just think everybody's different. Cause I know mediums that are like, this is my, like, I'm Monday to Friday. I work like full 8 hours giving readings.
Yeah. I don't know anybody.
I couldn't do it, but I know there's like some that do.
I'm thinking of a mentor that I didn't take her course, but like that I've spoken to multiple times. And she was like, no, like you don't need to do more than like 3 a day. Like, it's just too much. You need to take care of yourself. So for me, it would never be my goal to do 8 hours of readings a day. It would be so hard.
No, I don't think anybody would want me to.
Hope that
you don't want to be
your
that
question,
8th
Laura.
person.
Yeah. So let's go back to the other chat here. Really good questions. Thank you so much for all these questions coming in. We so appreciate it. Jennifer says, is there any relationship between crying more often for a period of time for things that really shouldn't set me off so much? I'm wondering if it's releasing stuff and then moving on. Thoughts? Hopes this makes sense.
I think, crying is definitely a releasing it's a form of releasing. Yeah. It's healthy.
I think she's feeling like she's crying more since she's become aware of how sensitive she is to things.
Yeah.
Like energy.
I think that's again, picking up on energies, right? We all pick up on energies so differently. Like I'll watch if I'm watching a mediumship show, more often than not, I'm like a mess. I'm a hot mess. Or any even I was watching a documentary on psychedelics and they were talking about having these spiritual experiences. And I was like, I'm in a mess, just in tears. So
I cry all the time. I cry. You know what gets me? And I've always been this way my whole life. If I'm at some sort of sporting event, say, which is not that often because it's not really my thing. But if I was, even if it was a little league game, I feel like I'm going to sob like a baby if somebody tries and doesn't get it right, or if they get it right, they get the home run, or if somebody's singing or something, I'm like, okay, I am just done for. You know what my intuition's telling me about this, Jen, is that people that are especially if you're connecting to spirit, not everybody that can connect to spirit is going to be a medium, right? It's some people just want that connection for themselves. But I do think that spirit will give us on the job training. So I think that we will experience, there has to be a level of compassion and there has to be a level of understanding and feeling in order to do this work. Because you're going to work with a whole slew of different personalities and different people with different backgrounds. So I think that you need to have some level of understanding and compassion for things, which is why I think that maybe as you're opening to this, you're experiencing things and seeing things in a new light. They're making you more emotional. It's giving you, I don't know, that extra empathy towards something. I don't know if it's a certain thing, Jen, that's setting you off, or if it's just in general, if you're crying. But for me, I think there's something to that, because I think that mediums will have, more often than not, will have to experience struggles and challenges in life. Not to say we're all going to have hard lives, but I do think that maybe it's because we're extra sensitive to things that we, can find things more challenging or struggling when they're emotional. But I think there's a purpose for that. And it gives you that, that frame of reference. It gives you that understanding and that compassion. So that's what my gut says as I'm answering that question.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you, Erin, too?
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to open up before we go back to the YouTube, because I think we got some questions.
Okay.
On our phones.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to forget about them. Okay. And this is a question from Spirit Surfer's blog. So hello, shout out. Thank you for your question. They're wondering why, and this goes back to hauntings, ghosts. So we're switching gears a little bit here. They're wondering why graveyards are considered haunted, quote unquote, haunted places. I would think that a spirit would get stuck near the location they actually died at. What would be the purpose for them to always be hanging around where their body is buried? I guess, how does a ghost decide where they're going to hang out? LOL is her question.
You want to take it?
Yes. So, Amy and I have spoken about this. I think it's a great question. Really good question. I personally, and I think Amy agrees, we don't necessarily feel that energy or spirits or our loved ones are stuck. Okay. And I think that maybe we think graveyards are haunted because Hollywood has made them haunted locations. So that's what I feel about that. Yeah, I don't think I would go ghost hunting in a graveyard. You don't know, who you're going to connect with. And I don't think, I wouldn't want to stay or hang around where I was buried. I'd probably be at a donut shop or some sort of food shop, I think. think that's where I would
I
be.
think you're gonna be stuck.
If I'm going to
Yeah.
be anywhere, it's going to be there, right? Or you know what'd be a good place to haunt is an office by the water cooler, because that's where all the hot gossip is, right? Right, guys?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same.
I would be
Eyes on the wall.
Yeah, I would be a shit disturber, for lack of a
A fly on
better
the
word.
wall.
I'd cause trouble. But yeah, I don't believe that, ghosts are necessary, or spirits are actually necessarily stuck. I definitely believe in like residual energy, and I think they're called residual hauntings, right? Which is where
Yes.
like, I might be, for example, here in this room so much, right, that in a few years when I leave, somebody's going to come in and be like, oh, this feels interesting, this feels different, and so I think that definitely can exist, like energy. Things can absorb energy, and so
The residual energy. Do you think, though, like in the case of last week when we did the episode with Emily, who is an astrologer, an Akashic Records reader, and a medium, she told a story about this like historical place in her town that used to be, I can't remember what she said, what business it was, but it burned down and then it was rebuilt as something else. And that she went in and she could feel like who was there and who was kind of being mischievous, right? Like there was kind of mischievous spiritual energy going on. So in that case, is it that that spirit that she connected to is like just visiting, just hanging out? It's not that he's stuck there. His energy is just visiting. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, I think energies can come and go, like the ghost that I have in my house.
Yes.
In the kitchen, my kitchen ghost.
Yes.
I think he definitely comes in and out.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I agree that with that too. Like, I think, like I go back to this word intention all the time, right? So I'm not going to dismiss other people's experiences because I know that this can be controversial. I know that a lot of people will be like, nope, hauntings is real. I had to do an exorcism in my house. Like, I know that this kind of stuff, people talk about this stuff, right? And so I'm treading lightly, but also being honest with my opinion, my experiences. I think that intention is everything. I think that if you're intending to go to a graveyard and connect to something spooky, maybe you will. Is there actually something spooky there? Or is it your fear or the energy imprint that is there that somebody else felt when they went there?
Or what,
I can't answer that.
What you're calling in.
What are you calling in? What do you want to experience?
What do you want to experience? If you want to experience some scares, you got that Ouija board out and you're like, oh, we're going to,
thinking about the Ouija board when I was a teenager, and I was like we were trying to connect with, kind of a scary thing. And it felt really scary. Was that spirit really there? I don't think so. I don't think that person had any reason to come visit us, really.
Yeah. Or you get those trickster, spirits, or those energies coming through to just kind of mess with you. Because
I think there might be mischievous spirit. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not one to think that everybody on the other side is like, oh, we're all, happy go lucky and la 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 la,
We keep our personalities, right?
Yeah. I think we continue to grow, and I think we continue to evolve over there. Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree. Yeah. Was there a second question with that?
Yes.
Person, or
do you want me to go into that one now?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I love this. Okay. So she says, or they say, and if you have more time. We do. I was wondering if you have ever had contacts with ETs. Do you ever have clients where their guides are from other planets, star systems, or future timelines? That is so cool. And if so, what were they like? Amy, thoughts?
I am one to believe that there's life in other planets and other universes. I believe in the multiverse. I believe in parallel timelines. Absolutely. I feel like we would be, I don't know, I'm kind of like, really? We think that this is it? We're all that there is? Oh, I think that there's more, personally. Have I ever connected to an ET? No, I have not. I also haven't set my intention to connect to one. And I haven't experienced that in a client reading. I have had information come in client readings where I feel like I'm thinking of one client and podcast listener who will not be upset if I share this, but she first time I read for her was like a pre-recorded reading. So we weren't like with each other. I didn't know anything about her other than her first name. And I brought through all this evidence, yes, but then I brought through stuff about her being connected actually to Lemuria and to the Palladian star system. And she resonated with that. And I was very unfamiliar with that even at that point. I brought it through, I channeled it, and I was like, I don't even know what this is, but this is what's coming through. And then I started to look into it more and resonated with it myself. So I feel like sometimes it will come through if somebody does have, say, like a past life or something to that extent, from a different star system. Yes. But I haven't had a guide come through that is. What about you, Erin?
Well, you also do those higher self readings, right? So you, in a way, you're connecting to maybe a different timeline.
Maybe, but they're not identifying. Yeah, exactly. Or then you got to think about like, is there a timeline, or is like everything happening all at once at the same time?
Everything, everywhere, all at once. Did you see that movie? Okay,
No,
so
but
everybody, yeah, you gotta watch it. It's amazing. It's about the multiverse, basically. It's really cool. I liked it.
I'm reading a book right now about the multiverse. It is, I put it in my stories today, guys. It's called Deep Water. Ooh. It's a sci-fi psychological thriller about the multiverse and about going to another timeline parallel. Yeah, it's right up your alley, Erin. As I'm reading it, I'm like, Erin would love this.
Oh, that is my jam. Yes. I am there. Like, look at my shirt.
Yeah, I have that shirt.
I was going to say, I hope Amy wears it.
I know I did, but I dug this one out, which reminds me of the universe.
Ooh.
It's like paint splatters, but it reminds me of the universe.
Like the different stars.
Yeah,
I believe in ETs for sure, extraterrestrials. And I have connected with them in readings. It's funny when they come through because I'm like, I'm going to sound like I'm off my rocker. But do you connect with like extraterrestrials, aliens? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, because I feel like they're here for sure. They're coming through. And I love it. I did a meditation one time, and I was just asking for anytime I like, you know, when I do readings, I like to do the whole, like I do a little bit, at least a bit of a meditation, and I ask for our guides and like basically ask for any higher vibrational beings that want to help with this reading to deliver these messages today. And I remember connecting with ETs during that moment, and it felt very real. It was just like really quick, kind of how it came through. And I just felt very like almost at peace with it. It was a very peaceful feeling. And I love when they come through for readings. So I've definitely connected to other dimensional beings. Sometimes fairies come through. Again, might sound like I'm off my rocker, but sometimes that playful energy comes through, like earth spirits, elementals. Mm-hmm. I love that. I love when that comes through. Yeah.
That reminds me of a book called Between Life and Death by Dolores Cannon, which I'm also reading as well. I've got a lot of books on the go. And I was just reading the part, there's part of it where they talk about like the levels of consciousness, and how like there are, the elementals are there, and then they've got like the fairies and the little woodland, whatever they're called. Yeah. And it says like they just at another level of consciousness, and some people do experience them. Yeah. Which I think is really cool.
If you guys want to check out, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, I think as your consciousness continues to open and expand, I know people talk about the veil, right? And I think that really all that is when your consciousness expands, so you're seeing something that always was there and you just didn't see it. Yeah. That's how I explain spirit.
Yeah.
Like it was always there. It's just now I feel like the soul, I believe in divine timing. So I do feel like the soul is like knows when it's time to go. It's like it's go time, right? Like for me, it was like 37, 38 years old. It's go time, Amy. You're ready. But I wouldn't have been ready before. So I can't look back and go, oh, like I wish I developed when I was 20. for whatever reason, my soul is like, no, it's time to go now. And then everything starts to expand and grow. And this is why it's like a lifelong thing, because who knows what I'll be experiencing 10 years. I think if my intentions are good and I'm like, hey, I just want to continue expanding and seeing, and I'm not afraid, because fear is going to keep things hidden. Who knows what we'll be experiencing as our consciousness continues to expand. But I think it's a pretty cool question.
I love it. And Laura says, oh my God, my 7-year-old will love that validation, Erin. She's so into fairies. Yes.
We believe in the fae.
We believe. It's funny. I'm going to share the story real quick. I'm so conscious of time. So I know. But when I was little, maybe 7, I don't remember. But when I was little, and I used to live in Saskatoon, and my mom we were out with our neighbors, and I remember I was playing with their kids also, and I think we were around similar ages, and the neighbors we were saying, oh, look, there's a golden spider web. And they were like, oh, did you know that fairies weave golden spider webs? Like, this spider web, I was gold. Okay. Like, in my child brain, I might be making it up, maybe it was just me as a kid, but that I remember it clear as bells. It was gold. And they were like, no, we don't see it. We don't see it. And my mom, Cheryl, if you're watching, to this day, will not admit that spider web was like spray painted gold or anything like that. So I don't know if that was a joke that they played on the kids, or if, we did see it and they weren't even aware, and they were like, oh, fairies weave golden spider webs. So I don't know. Ask your 7-year-old if they've seen any golden spider webs.
So I was actually thinking about this, Erin. This is a really good validation too, because I was kind of like thinking about like September topics for podcast. And one of them I was going to plug to you was about children, and, because I know that I have experience as a parent, and you have experiences working with children, right? So I thought that would be a good thing to maybe focus on, like intuition with children, and
because they see
for sure. My youngest is 6, and he has been seeing. He was like just under 2 when my dad passed away, and had only met him once at like 6 months old. We didn't live close by, so it's not like he was seeing him all the time, but he very much brings him forward. Not as much anymore, which makes me sad, because I know that as kids get older, sometimes they can like not see as much sometimes, but I try to encourage it without pushing it on him. But he used to bring things up all the time, like that Poppy, which is what we call my dad, and he's always actually behind in that other room, in the laundry room. He's always there. I don't know why, but he's always there. And there's been a few times where he's said things like when he was like 2, I want to go outside and play with the girl on the swing. And I'd be like, oh, and then I'd look at him and I don't know if that's debris flow in the swing or if there's somebody swinging out there, but he would say that to me. And I'd be like,
listen,
oh my God.
I'm all about kids and their intuition, but nothing is freakier than children ghosts. And kids seeing spirit. I don't know why that sends chills. Yeah. So have you seen a spirit with a child spirit with your objective clairvoyance? Well, there was that time when I was maybe 12 or 13, like after my grandfather passed. And I, like, to this day, I can't say for sure if that was me as a kid. I don't think it was, but like if my brain was playing tricks on me. But I remember seeing this like porcelain doll like figure coming out of the wall.
I remember you told me this. Yeah.
And it scared me because, one, porcelain dolls freak me out. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're going to come to me, why did you come to me as that?
Of all things, really.
Why? But it was just, you know what it was? It was that the skin was so almost translucent. Like it was just so clear. No acne for sure on this spirit, but like just so clear, and the most piercing blue eyes, and like very soft, fine hair, like very angelic. She looked very angelic. And I was like screaming. And I knew as a kid, I wasn't actually seeing this, but like she was there, but she wasn't. Like that was sort of what was going on in I think I was having like a conversation, thinking back on it now with this being. But I remember screaming. I was screaming for my dad, and my as I'm screaming, I remember thinking, why am I screaming? I don't have to be afraid. But I'm like, there's this porcelain doll like figure there. This is terrifying. But I knew I didn't have to be afraid of that. So it was very, very surreal. And then I have one super quick story. I don't think she'll mind me sharing this, but I used to work at a preschool with this girl, and she was telling me a story about one of the kids that we worked with, and he came right up to her, and I think she said she was having kind of an off day or whatever, and just started thinking about things, and he came up to her and he goes, "Who's that man standing beside you?" And she's like, "What man?" He goes, "That old man." And I'm getting goosebumps like as I say it. And she's like, and he ran away. He just ran away after that. And she was like, "Wait, come back." What did he look like? Yeah.
You know, I sometimes wonder, like, because we just said objective clairvoyance, right? So those of you that don't know that term, objective clairvoyance would be like seeing spirit with your actual physical eyes, like seeing an apparition, a shadow, whatever. Whereas Erin and I, for the most part, experience subjective clairvoyance, which is in the third eye. And I was like reading a book. So for those of you that know Mavis Patilla, so she was she just passed away last week. She was a spiritualist, evidential medium. So she was involved with the spiritualist church in the UK, taught at Arthur Findlay College. And she has been kind of like a mentor to me in a way. I've never met her personally, but I watch her YouTube videos all the time. She just transitioned to the spirit world, I think on the 22nd of August. And so I read a book of hers. I bought a book. It's called Droplets of God. And it's her journey through it all. But when she first started experiencing the spirit world, I think she was like in her late 20s, and she was going through a health scare. Like she almost passed away. She started to see spirit objectively. So she always saw them like literally like sitting next to her. Like there was no difference between them and a living, breathing person, except she had this inner knowing, like, I know that's not a living person, but she saw them just as clearly. And then I feel like, I don't know how many years went by, but she started working like with her mediumship and seeing people in that way. And then she like lost her ability to see them with her physical eyes. And so she kind of went through like a dark night of the soul where she's like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, am I a medium anymore? I've lost my ability to see them. And it switched into subjective clairvoyance. So everything was like you and I experience in the third eye. And so I was thinking about that as you were talking, and I was thinking about like kids and how when we hear kids talking about spirit, they see them with their eyes. So I wonder if there's something to that. Like if, you know, we maybe come in knowing and being open to seeing spirit objectively. And then as we get older, we like might close off to it sometimes. Yeah. Which also makes me wonder if you and I could then go, okay, my intention is to see you objectively, and if they would show us objectively, maybe,
but I've told them I don't want that.
I've told them I don't want to too. It's interesting. Bye, Annette. Thank you so much for being here. I actually was speaking to Annette the other day when she was talking about the dream she had about like being asked to spread give messages on behalf of spirit. And I said, I brought that up about the objective and subjective. And I said, I've literally said, I don't want to see you physically. Like it might freak me out a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why we don't. I don't know. Interesting.
We've heard of like people having a certain mark or something, wasn't it, on their hand, and it's like the witch mark, or they were a witch in a past life. Is that something like that?
I've heard something about right
the
here.
Freckle. Is it the freckle?
Like a freckle, and it was
that's what it is.
Girl has this freckle, and I was like, huh. But I don't know if like every single person has one there or not.
But I don't know. Is it supposed to be here? Like, is that a freckle?
It's like a little molar freckle, like on the inner, your inner wrist.
It's like on my vein.
Mine actually. Interesting.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to bring up, Ada. Yes, that's what I'm going to talk about. Yeah.
Go for it, Amy, because I think you know a little bit more than me, maybe.
No, I don't think so. Maybe because I do past life readings.
I think that's what I
might be
mean.
why. Because I've had things come in. Jojo Smile says, I have a freckle there, LOL. Haha, welcome to the club. Yeah, no, I've done past life readings, multiple, like where things have come through, where I will bring through a past life and like the way that they passed.
Yeah.
I would say 90% of past life readings, the past life will tell me how they passed.
Yeah.
And it always makes sense for the person. Like this is unrelated, but I'm thinking of what I did last week where I said, she's telling me that you despise, like it's more than just you don't like, you hate smoking. You hate it. You abhor it. Right. And I was like, and she shows me her with a oxygen mask with an oxygen tank. She was a chain smoker. And she goes, oh my God, Amy, I hate smoking. I hate it. Right. It was just interesting. This is the way that past life readings work. Things like this come in. But I remember one off the top of my head where I brought through this life that felt very Celtic. And it was a male life, and he was kind of like on a horse and traveling through some wood. It was very Robin Hood-esque, but not. And he, totally oblivious, was stabbed in the back, right between the shoulder blades. And she said that A, she has a mark there, and B, she experiences tension and pain there, and she doesn't know why. You know, and it also manifests in different ways of the fear of opening up to people, of literally being stabbed in the back, right? Of having to watch your back. Yeah. I get goosebumps as I'm talking about this. So it's definitely truth to this. So whether it's like an actual physical mark on your body, or whether it can come in as like a place that you experience pain and you don't know why, maybe it's like an unexplainable pain, but you have it, it very likely could be connected to past life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have any marks like that, Amy? Other than the witch
No,
freckle?
I've just got like little moles and things like that, but I don't have like a big birthmark or anything. Yeah. I've always had, like ever since I was a kid, I've experienced lower back pain. Like I remember being 5 and sitting in like a little semicircle, crisscross, applesauce.
Applesauce, yeah.
Applesauce, I said. And being like, oh my God, my lower back hurts. I think there's something to that for sure. I've had other readers connect to my past life. The first reading I ever had done, she connected to a past life in which I was like, she said I was courting a gentleman, and we were like we were very happy and like in love. And she said, you're like walking, you have these boots on that are laced up, these little black like booties, and you have a big like hoop skirt on. And she's like, I feel like you're somewhere like the UK or perhaps Scotland, but you're definitely in that kind of area in the world. And you are laughing with your head thrown back, and you lose your footing and you fall off the side of the cliff.
That's traumatic.
I went, oh my God, I am literally petrified of heights. And I know that a lot of people are, but I mean, I can't even watch a height. I can't get on 3 steps on a ladder. My legs are shaking. I have a very physical reaction to it. Erin and I talked about like never getting on a roller coaster. Like I really will not. I will not. Connected to a past life, maybe. I mean, this girl didn't know me and she brought this through, and I was like, maybe there's something there. Maybe I broke my back. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
So interesting.
Oh, Jojo Smiles brings up a serious bird phobia. Girl, I have a serious bird phobia too. I'm trying to warm up to it. In fact, today my husband and I went for a drive and we got some fries. And he was throwing flies out the window, and I was like, you better stop, because that bird was like making making eye contact with me. Freaks me right out. I don't know if it's a past life thing for me. I kind of think that it might be something from my childhood, because I distinctly remember going to a pet store with my grandfather, and there was the pet store had a pet parrot, which is cool, right? Mm-hmm. But when I was there in the store, they let him out. So he was flying all around the store and he was swooping. And I have been that's when I really realized I was terrified.
Terrified of birds. I didn't think that was a thing. And my friend also has a fear of birds.
Anything that's like flapping like that, no, thank you.
Okay.
Butterflies, okay.
They're anything a little bit more friendly.
Anything that can like bite me with its beak at the same time that it can like flutter, no, that's okay.
No thanks.
Yeah, you never know what could have happened to warrant that. I agree. I don't know, but I do. Bird phobia is a thing, 100%. Laura says, I've been deeply terrified of fish, and that's the weirdest fear. The eye contact they make when they're flailing. I just cannot. I'm like, I'm already vegan fish. Your issue is not with me. That's hilarious.
I can't.
Yeah, who knows, right? Who knows? I think we're just weirded out by certain things.
I mean, you're not alone there. It's like, man, I can't do that.
I'm eking out over here too, LOL. That's so Oh, so I hope that we answered your question about the birthmarks, Melissa. I also see that you asked a question about seeing energy and colors or auras. So I'd be happy to answer that one too.
Yeah, go for it.
No, I mean, sorry, like I meant we would be happy to answer.
Yeah.
Do you see colors?
I had this like experience, and I think you've talked about it, Amy, where you have this quote in your book that you wrote, right? By the great Canadian women.
I don't know if you can see this. It's hard to see, but it says, "Why live in black and white?
Yeah.
And you can live in technicolor."
Technicolor.
This is my mantra. I'll share the story after. Yeah.
And I love that because I feel very similarly. I remember I had I used to work at a hospice for children, respite and hospice, or I used to volunteer there. And, you know, as it happens, one of the kids passed away, and I was like just sitting outside on the hill, and I had my coffee, and I just was like kind of like thinking about him and crying a little bit, right? And because I had worked with this particular young boy quite a bit. And I remember just like having this like flash of seeing trees in this, like, there was like a different color. There was like a hue that was there. And I had this moment or realization of like, this isn't it. And I almost felt like maybe that was sort of his way of coming through to me, of saying, this is what I see. And this isn't it. I'm okay. You know, here it is. This is what I'm looking at right now. And so I definitely believe that I think everything has an aura. Like I was looking at a tree and it had these vibrant colors around it. So yeah, I agree about that. Or I feel the very similarly, that I think you can see colors and there's auras, and color has an energy, has color, right? Or there's color to it. So
I don't see aura with my physical eyes, but I can see it. Sometimes aura will come through in a reading. So I'll connect to somebody and I will see certain colors around them associated with them. It's interesting too, because remember at the beginning when I was sharing how I used to have a particular like opening kind of practice when I was getting ready for a reading, I would often imagine certain colors around me, blue and purple mainly. And always, it wasn't like I was choosing them or they were my favorite. In fact, my favorite color is green. But those colors were coming through for me. And then actually a past guest of ours, Brandy, who has a podcast called Spirit Talk. Some of you will know who Brandy is. Her and I did kind of like a practice reading on each other. Like we did an energy exchange. And she's like, Amy, your aura is bright purple and blue. The first thing she said to me, and I was like, oh, I was seeing my own aura. How cool. But I will bring auras through, but I'll see them like through my third eye, not with my physical eyes. But my story, like with this quote, and why I have this framed in my office, is the first time I ever intentionally connected to spirit. Like I was like, okay, spirit, let's do this thing. That's what they told me. Amy, why do you want to live? There's many other things, but this is how it ended. Why do you want to live in black and white when you can live in technicolor? When you have this available to you? I want to cry. It makes me that emotional. It was truth to my soul. And I get goosebumps as I say it. And so I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, why would I turn my back on why would I turn my back on all this color? And it's also interesting because, you know, you read different books, or like even I think Dolores Cannon talks about it in some of her books, where people talk about how it's so bright over there. Everything is technicolor. Everything's very dull here compared to what it's like in other realms, which I think is that technicolor. That's like, yeah, that's where that came from. And it's also interesting because, and I have shared about this before on the podcast, but just to recap, if anybody's missed it, years before I started doing this work, anytime I would have any sort of like, if I had Reiki, if I had a massage, I would, in my mind's eye, see almost like exploding color and like geometric, like different geometric shapes, and it would like shape shift, and like a circle would turn into a triangle, would turn into a square, and it was like just like this really like psychedelic kind of, almost like I would be on a trip, you know what I mean, like what I was seeing. And I was like, interesting. And I remember walking out of the massage room once, and I was there with some friends, and they said, so did you fall asleep? And I was like, no. And I explained what I saw, and they're like, what the hell? Like, we were asleep, right? Like, what are you seeing? And they don't experience that. And I was like, interesting. And then I read this news article in a paper. It wasn't even a local paper, so I don't even know how I came across it. It's one of those like coincidences, where this young guy in his 20s passed away from a work-related accident. Like, literally was declared dead, and they brought him back. And where he went, he explained, I felt weightless, I felt warm, I felt like I was floating, and all I saw was like shapes and colors. And I went, whoa, like, where do I go when I get this spot? I'm really interested if anybody else ever experiences anything like that, because I know I've talked about it before, and I've had a few people go, I see that too.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
You know, what's really cool is I used to, I would go to these like meditation groups that my mom would go to. And my friend came with me. I'm going to give her a shout out, Kina. And we were meditating, and afterwards she opens up the floor, the medium, to if we wanted to share. And Kina goes, oh, I saw lots of like purple swirling around. And I was like, oh, I saw that too. Like, we were both seeing like these different colors of like flashes of purple, which is really cool. So very similar to like what you were seeing. And like purple makes me think too about like intuition as well, right? That third eye opening up. So I love that. I feel like I had something else to say, but I don't think it's that important. But that really, that resonates with me when you say that.
Yeah. And I like when Brandy brought up, validated for me that my aura was blue and purple, my immediately went to, oh, those are like chakra colors for like up here. Like, totally makes sense why that would be the case. Melissa says her computer died, but thank you for answering questions. She's back now. I think there's a question from Lauren. I think this might be the last one. I have put a little last call out to see if anybody else has any questions. But Laura asks, how do you define a light worker? Amy told me during her higher self reading that I am a light worker, but I think I'm not too sure about what to do with that information. What do you think, Erin?
I would say that if you don't have to do anything necessarily with that information unless you feel called to do something about that. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Because light worker, that has different meaning with a lot of different people. And I think you'd have to just sort of maybe, I would suggest journaling and sitting down with it and seeing, what thoughts or images come to mind when you think of that word. So, but I don't know.
Yeah, for me, like I don't remember every higher self reading I do, because like I'm purely channeling in it. But I do remember doing that for you, Laura. That piece though, if I channeled from your higher self that you were a light worker, my interpretation of what that would mean would be that, because my personal interpretation of a light worker is somebody that comes in this incarnation to spread their light, to raise consciousness. There is no right way to do that. We can be musicians and write beautiful lyrics that open up consciousness. We can write novels that open up consciousness. We can be public speakers that open up consciousness. We can be energy practitioners, medium, psychics. It just means that you come here with your light, and you're ready. I think you're ready. You're ready to go. You want to shine your light. Your main goal is to raise consciousness. Do I believe that everybody's a light worker? I don't know. I think that some people are here to like work on their own stuff. This is their lifetime to work on their own stuff. Not to say that us that identify as light workers aren't all also working on their own stuff, but I think they also have this added responsibility, or a responsibility that we've taken on as a soul to raise consciousness in some way. And there's never any pressure, because we can do that in any way that we choose. The thing that's so great about the higher self reading is that, you know, especially if I kind of connect to your gifts, though, that's how you would spread your light, like by embodying those gifts about you. And something that comes through in a high self reading, like when I connect to somebody's gifts, it's things that you have mastered in previous lifetimes. It can be things like Ada, if it's okay if I share, I brought through, she was a truth talker. She's here to advocate. She's here to tell the truth. That's what she's here to do. So it might be easy for her to do so in this lifetime. It might be difficult. Regardless, she's here to do that. And by doing that, she is fulfilling her purpose. And she chooses to do that in whatever way she chooses, through music, through advocating for different things, through supporting people like Erin and I here, you know, and that's how she's raising consciousness, because her energy is like, it's the words unspoken too, right? Like, I think that us just embodying our truth, whatever that is, does raise consciousness. It does change energy. It does change people's lives. You don't have to be like a medium or a psychic to raise consciousness.
No, and I think you're doing it maybe unconsciously.
Yes, you might be doing it mothering your children, Laura. You might be doing it in your relationship with your spouse. You might be doing it through your relationships with friends, or what you do for work. You don't have to put any pressure on yourself. It just means that you stepping into what comes natural to you and what you're good at there's going to be an impact. There's a ripple effect. That's what it means for me. So yeah, I hope no pressure being a light worker. I know that word can sometimes be like, oh my God, what does that mean? I think that might be it. Nikki says she has no questions, but enjoyed listening. And thank you for reminding me to take my magnesium. I know I have to go buy some more. Melissa says, I'm thinking a better combo about that energy. Long story short, you mentioned seeing that energy for me was tied to emotion. Yes, that makes sense as well for me. Interestingly too, like with energy, and you know, sometimes people will say certain, you ever like watch like a horror movie? Like I'm thinking of like Carrie, you know, when she gets really mad and then everything starts happening, like her powers come out. I do think that emotion can do that in some ways. Like I think that sometimes it can be the thing that holds us back if we're like misusing our emotions, for sure. Like I would never do a reading if I was heavily grieving, or if I was very angry or ragey. Like I would not do that. My energy would not be in a place that I would feel like I was spreading love and light if I was coming from that place. But yeah, very tied to emotion. You agree, Erin?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, energy is energy, and what you put out there has energy with it. You know, it's like if somebody's having a bad day, they don't necessarily have to say, I'm having a bad day. You can kind of just feel it in the room. Yeah.
You feel it. And we feel it with each other sometimes. I remember there was a podcast episode, or like we met to do a podcast, and afterwards she was like, are you okay? Like, and it wasn't that I was like acting different, but you felt it. And I was like, oh, it's one of these days that like, I just want to crawl under a rock.
Yeah.
You can feel it.
You can feel it. And just know. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we need to take care of ourselves and each other. I do have one more question from somebody that gave this, and then we will end, because everybody is saying thank you. We had a question come through Instagram from Tamara J. How can I develop my intuition? I think that's a good one, and I know a couple other people were waiting for us to answer this one, so it might be a good one to end with.
Yeah, well, I can just start with like how I have been working with spirit and how spirit has been working with me. And again, everybody's so different, so you have to find what works for you and what resonates with you. If it doesn't resonate with you, drop that shit. Don't carry it. Okay. But for me, I started out going to like different meditation groups. And one medium in one of these meditation groups, I just went to one that was nearby my house here in Toronto, and recommended that I journal. That's how she started. And I was like, oh, it's a good idea. I'm going to start journaling. So I would literally sit down in meditation. And again, meditation doesn't mean you have to sit there in kumbaya and listen to like classical music. It could be the Grateful Dead, whatever it is that like gets you to that place, right? That in between space with spirit. And so I'm listening to this music and I would write things down, whatever just sort of came through, which is how readings work, right? So if you're looking to develop your own intuition, I think the best way is, and I think Amy has something like this as well that she'll talk about, which is an evidence journal, right, Amy? And you're writing things down, and they probably won't make sense to you. And then, like, for example, I would look back in my journal and I saw the name of the future person that I was going to have, a relationship with, right? Just things like that kind of just happen. And you're like, oh, that's really cool, right? And so I think what all that does is that gives you that confidence, that confirmation to trust your intuition, to trust yourself, and like, you're not nuts. It's things are coming through for you, things are happening. So that was one of the ways that I was working with spirit and continue to work with spirit. I think music for me is just, even I don't have to meditate. I literally will just like dance in the kitchen and listen to music, and that raises my vibration before a reading.
Yeah. I do that too sometimes. Yeah. I don't think meditation is necessary if it's the thing that you resonate with and you really enjoy it. And, people talk about sitting in the power. Then by all means do it. But I don't think it's like a one size fits all. I personally never meditate, never. But I believe that we can get into that in between, right? Into the zone, as we'll call it. We don't have to be meditating on a yoga mat. We can be driving our car with the music blasting and the windows down. We can be dancing. We can be cooking some really good food and
doing
really enjoying the process. We can do, doing the dishes, showering, taking a bath, like going for a swim, like wherever gets you into that place where you're like, whoa, look at the time, like didn't even realize an hour went by. That's your place. That's the zone. So recognize where that is for you. And be open. I talk to spirit, talk to your guides. Think of this as a relationship. Okay. Know that your intention is the most important thing. So if you intend to develop your intuition, then say, this is my intention. This is what I want to do. Help me out. But know that the spirit world, our guides, they can help us when asked, right? We've talked about this a few times. There's free will here, which means that our guides can't swoop in and go, we need to make Amy not do this. They'll give us some intuitive red flags, certainly. But how many of us listen to that all the time, right? And then stuff happens. But there's free will here. So we need to ask if we want that help. I do always recommend people keep an evidence journal. I've got mine right here. You can pretty it up with stickers, do whatever you want. I write down dreams that I have that don't really make sense in the moment. Rather than spend my whole day obsessing and trying to analyze, what did this mean? What did this mean? I just write it down. I just get it out of my head. I'll write down random things that happened. Why did this happen? I heard this name. I heard this. I write it down. Sometimes things come through in readings that I really resonate with as I'm saying it. I write it down afterwards. And then, I'll go through and I'll be like, okay, so 6 months ago, my intuition was trying to tell me this. Okay. And what happens is you will build evidence and confidence in your intuition and your intuitive knowing. You'll be like, ah. So then what happens is now, eventually with practice and confidence, you won't wait 6 months to get that second piece of validation. Your intuition will tell you something. You'll be like, okay, it's go time. And you just do it. You just act. And that's when the magic happens. And that's when things become aligned. And I think that's how we manifest things. When we get into that inspired action, okay, I'm going to, because when I was talking to Annette the other day and she was kind of asking about a little bit about development and things like that. And there was still a little bit of a level of fear, right? And I said, spirit won't push you too far. They won't give you too much. You have to, this is all about trust and intention and awareness. And that's all it's about. I believe that we all can connect to our loved ones. We all can connect to spirit. I don't think that Erin and I are chosen ones. Maybe if we go back to what I say in higher self readings, maybe this would come through as one of our gifts. And what that means, not that nobody else can do it, maybe it just means we've mastered it before. And so in this lifetime, tapping into our intuition comes a little bit easier because we've already learned how to do it. Therefore, it becomes a gift because we don't have to learn. We just have to tap in. But it's not to say that like we all can't tap in. We're just working on different timelines too, right? Like, so yeah, I think the main thing is probably the evidence journal, because that will give you confidence. You also need to know that even as professional mediums like Erin and I that do this for years and years and years, we still have doubt. We still go, is this real? Like what is happening? It's very normal. It's very normal. The only thing is that now we don't hesitate. We're just like, I don't know where this is coming from, but I got to give it to you.
Yeah.
So that shows a level of trust to spirit and also to your own soul. So your soul's like, she's going to act. This is bravery and this is courage because she doesn't know how this is going to go and she's going to do it anyways. And I think that the brave are rewarded in various ways for being brave. Yeah. Anytime you push yourself out of your comfort zone, please know you have a huge section of cheerleaders on the other side.
Yeah.
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 Anytime you're talking to yourself, you might be talking to your guides.
Yeah, you might be. Yeah.
Yeah. That's my excuse. That's my excuse at least.
And yeah.
That's
it's
Erin's
cool too, 'cause
excuse.
remember we did the episodes about the spirit guides and I was like, I've never connected to my spirit guides. And you remember? And you were like, really? And I was like, yeah. And then one day I was like, okay, I want to connect to you. And I set my intention and it didn't happen immediately. Like, I think it was a few minutes. One came in and then it might've been days later when I got the awareness of another one, but got their names. And I was like, oh, like they've just been there the whole time, but I've never like set the intention of like, hey, like, tell me who you are. What do you look like? Like, yeah, I think that's cool.
Yeah. I love it.
Thank you, everyone. This has been wonderful.
Pull a card?
Pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. I've loved every minute of it. It's just gone 2:00 in the morning, so I won't stay much longer.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I need sleep.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
No, thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. We can, if you want to.
Should we just wrap it up? Pull a card? And... All right.
Pull a card, wrap it up. Yeah, I also, I'm not too stressed about time because I believe that the first like 15, 20 minutes, we were kind of like trying to figure stuff out. So it won't be as long as we think it will be. Those of you that are still here, thank you for being here. We're going to pull a card for you guys for the energy of the week, the month. I'm just going to give it to you because I'm going to say for the fall. The fall. That's my intention as I pull my card, connecting for energy of the fall.
I really think it's going to be like harvest season. Like I know it is, but I just heard harvest season.
Thank you for being here, Laura. We really appreciate you spending time with us tonight and interacting with us. You want to go ahead, Erin?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so 2 cards came through and I'm pulling from, I just love this deck. I was going to pull from my tarot cards and then I was like, no, I want this deck. So this is the Spellcasting Oracle deck. And the 2 cards that came out, one was dreams. So I really like this because we talked quite a bit about dreams, trusting your intuition. I think part of that, maybe that opening up to spirit is like maybe trusting your dreams. Sometimes spirit will come to us in dreams and see what thoughts and images evoke for you. Dreams might not necessarily be literal. The other message I think that's coming through with this is that I feel like follow your dreams. I feel like for a lot of us, our dreams are actually going to be coming into reality, but before they do, we have to lighten our load. So I think the energy is a little bit maybe heavy, and I think fall, I think that's all about maybe lessening our load to make way for that new that's going to be coming through, which is why I think they're saying harvest. Yeah. And so I think we're going to be letting go of things, and I think we're going to be making way for some new stuff. So if you're feeling overburdened, lighten your load.
Yeah. That really speaks to me too. Like when you think about like the astrological, which we talked about last week with Emily, but like Virgo season is where we're at now. Virgo season really begs us to think about how we're doing things. Are we doing things efficiently? Have we prepared, you know, like really taking a look at what we're doing and how it is serving us. And then moving to October with Libra season is all about balance. So both of those things may be coming up for you now as well. What do you got? You got your, but those were the two cards, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for me, I'm going to end with the Rose Oracle from Rebecca Campbell. And I kind of laughed when I got this card. So we've got the Sub Rosa, and it says, hidden in plain sight, mysteries, learning, and teaching. So isn't that a little nod from Spirit? So I'm just going to read the last paragraph. It says, this card represents the great mysteries that are available for us to uncover and remember. Secrets that are waiting to be found, teachings that your soul might be ready to learn. Talk about all of this tonight. Look beyond what your eyes can see and dig a little deeper. You're here to uncover lost wisdom, ancient secrets, and deep mysteries. Are you being called to study the great mysteries, to live the great questions, and step into your role as a teacher, guide, or mystic? Are you being called to question things and unearth the truths unknown? The soul inquiry question here is, what are you being called to study, learn more about, or unearth? Mic drop. Like Spirit definitely spoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't make it up.
No.
Like our card pulls are wild sometimes. It will be like the exact thing that we've been talking about. Yeah, so you know, this kind of really resonates and speaks to what we've been talking about. Things are available to us. It's always been here. It's just about a matter of seeing it, of being open to see it. So intention goes a long way. Trust in oneself goes a long way. I think that consciousness and trust in yourself go hand in hand. So I think the more that you expand your trust with yourself, and you surrender and you kind of let go of the need to control everything, which is super hard for us as humans, I know. Sounds like Erin is being called back to college. Laura says, yeah, maybe she said something about that last week, didn't you? Like maybe I should go do my master's or something like that.
Yeah, well, I think you're thinking about a lot of stuff, but I also just completed school, so y'all, I'm gonna take a bit of a break, lighten my load.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, it's just interesting. Like things are hidden in plain sight, right? I think that that's an interesting message, and I think that you know, some of the guidance that Erin brought through about potentially like lightening your load, right? Like prioritizing, seeing how am I doing things? Can I do things differently? Could I be more efficient? And then also some balance, some boundaries.
Yeah. I
feel like that's what's being asked of us in order to open the consciousness, expand it a little bit more. So yeah, I love that. This has been a great episode. Thank you everybody for being here. It might be a two-parter. We might divide it up. But yeah, we definitely appreciate you being here.
This was such a blast. Like I can't get over it, and everybody is coming out and being so present and so willing to share and being online with us. And
thanks for being with us through all of the technological difficulties. You enjoyed the interaction and the questions. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Sure.
I so appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Okay,
Thank you.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
If you like what you're hearing, don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and tune in each week as we dish on all things spiritual.
Don't forget to like, comment on what you would like to hear us talk about next, and subscribe.